What's up, people? How you guys doing? Welcome to another episode of Jackson versus Jackson, me versus me. My boy AJ is not with us today. He's on another assignment out of town, so I'll be holding it down. So I'm here today to talk about the championship weekend, actually, which is the AFC Championship game, Kansas City versus the Bengals, and the NFC Championship game, Philadelphia Eagles versus the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, get you guys caught up, give you my thoughts on certain things in the games, and get you guys up out of here. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. So let's start with the first game. Uh, let's start with KC versus the Bengals, which was actually the second game, but let me start with that game first. Okay. So Kansas City uh pulled it out 23-20. Spoiler alert. uh let's talk about hobbled Mahomes and how he led these guys to victory. Uh the man was playing on one leg for the majority of the game. Uh I think Cincinnati's defense did some good things, seeing that he was hobbled, and they kept him in check uh, in a lot of ways. But Mahomes did what Mahomes does, man. He made some really magical plays happen. Uh, he he had some completions. He bought time with his legs, where you're like, God, dog, you know, like, can this guy be stopped? You know, and he had Kansas City up early, looking like it was gonna be a blowout. You know, and so uh, that was just uh, how he was able to maneuver and while being injured and still, put Kansas City on top. Now, uh, let's take a look at who he was doing it with, though. I mean, that's the thing. Uh, so Kansas City traded Tyreek Hill. It feels like, I don't know if it feels that way to you guys, but to me, it feels like he's been gone a couple of years. But this is the only season that he's been away. They traded him in the offseason. Got a nice little draft haul for him, but they traded him away. Uh, and Patrick Mahomes was making magic with a bunch of receivers that are not household names, that you'll be like, who is that guy? Who is that guy? You know, and the couple of household names that they did have weren't that highly involved in Tony, who was coming off an injury, and Smith Schuster. Uh, but they had Travis Kelsey. And he was targeted quite a bit, and he made huge plays for Mahomes throughout the game, so that helped. But let's see who Valdez Scantling, whoever that guy is. If you're from KC, you probably know who he is, but if you're not from KC, who's that guy? He made huge catches. He had 6 catches for 116 yards and a touchdown. Valdez Scantling. What's his first name? Marquez or Marquise or something? uh, Kansas City fans, give me his correct name in the comments. Uh, Travis Kelce had 7 catches on 8 targets. Man, and he moves like a receiver, and he always has always you know has gotten separation, even though he's a big guy. Like safeties, corners, they can't keep up with the guy. He does Q routes better than some of you know, the best slot receivers, man. It's amazing. Travis Kelsey is one hell of a player. Rookie, Isaiah Pacheco. had 5 catches, 59 yards. Rookie. McKinnon. Kemp. Who was Kemp? He had a catch. Sky Moore, who they got off the heap, I think. He had 3 catches. Uh, Merkley Hardman had 2 catches. Tony had a catch. Smith Schuster had a catch, and some guy named Gray had a catch. So uh, uh, it wasn't just your usual suspects. It was Travis Kelce, but and his band of merry men. You know, and 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 so that makes it even that much more spectacular what Kansas City was able to do. KC's defense, got to give them credit, man. They stopped Cincinnati's offense on the last 2 drives that they had. They had to hold them. All Cincinnati had to do was get in field goal range, and they couldn't do it on the last 2 drives. So regardless what happened before that and after that, they had it was 2020 now. In the fourth quarter, they had opportunities to either get in field goal range and kick a field goal to put them up, or drive for a touchdown to put them up. And Kansas City's defense didn't allow them to do it. Chris Jones was a man. He was a man all game, especially those last 2 series. So now let's take a look, or let's talk about the Bengals quarterback, offensive line. So the first drive or two, sacked 3-4 times right off the bat. So you're like, dang, this is how the game is gonna go. As I said, Kansas City looked like they could blow Cincinnati out. It never felt like they were gonna do that though. Cincinnati's defense always felt like they sort of had him under control as well, even though he was making some magical throws and things happen. Uh, but Cincinnati's offense was bad. But Cincinnati won 10 games in a row with a bad offense. So, you know, even though Joe Burrow kept getting sacked, I'm sure it was just status quo because he'd been sacked for the last 10 games with this O-line. They've got to fix it in the offseason. But Joe Burrow stepped up and made some throws of his own, you see, and he has some dogs. Joe Burrow has all of his dogs. He had T. Higgins, 6 catches, 83 yards, and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, 6 catches, 75 yards. Tyler Boyd, 2 catches, 40 yards. Those his top 3 dogs, and those were his top 3 pass catchers. And then his tight end was fourth, Hurst, with 4 catches. Mixon, running back, 3 catches. So Cincinnati got some dogs, and for Kansas City to bowl when they needed to bowl, that says volumes about their defense. Even though the offense gets all the praise and a ton of credit. Now, let's talk about the play. And if you understand, and you should know what I'm talking about when I say the play, because it's the play that basically put Kansas City in field goal range with 8 seconds to go. Again, it's Patrick Mahomes on a bum leg, rolling to his right, running for, trying to get a first down and get out of bounds. Time's running out. So I feel like the defensive end could have dove maybe and got him out of bounds a little sooner than he did. And then the play may not have happened, right? But he ran for a first down, and he was clearly out of bounds 2 steps before Joseph Osai just pushed the hell out of him for whatever reason. He didn't think he was going to get penalized for it, you know, and the referees had been trying to give Kansas City the darn game all fourth quarter, but I haven't talked about that yet. So he just thought that they were not going to give him the game on this play, right? And then when he pushed him, you know how karma is, he hyperextended his knee. And I haven't heard the extent the extent that the damage is to his leg or knee or whatever, but he was on the ground for quite a while after he got the flag on him, which put Kansas City in field goal range. They kicked the field goal and they won the game. And from my just me personally, I feel like because Cincinnati's defense had been stopping Kansas City the entire fourth quarter as well. Kansas City was up 20-13 on Cincinnati, and so they had been stuck on 20 for a while. So Cincinnati's defense was doing its thing. So I felt like if they went to overtime, I really felt good that Cincinnati would win that game. You know, and I'm not Cincinnati fan or a Kansas City fan, but I felt like Cincinnati would win if it went to overtime, and then the penalty happened. Okay, but let's go back to the play that wasn't real quick because I'm gonna move on to the NFC Championship game. But I just wanted to touch on that play, and I don't ever remember having a play go through and then saying, "Well, it wasn't a play." I've heard of whistles being blown and plays being going that that get negated because of the whistle, but this one felt different. You know, it felt uh like there was they let the play go, then they talked about it after the fact and decided it wasn't a play. That's what it felt like. And now they showed one replay of the referee taking 3 or 4 steps onto the field, but he in no way uh tried to stop the play. He wasn't waving his arms or anything. Uh, you know, and again, I don't have a dog in the fight, so you know, maybe he had blown the whistle and you know, just good conscience. His conscience got the best of him, but in all actuality, the play had happened, and it just felt like they were trying to give Cincinnati uh, more opportunity. No, they were trying to give Kansas City more opportunities. There, I said it. Uh, that's what I felt when it happened. You know, I'm sure Kansas City fans feel different, but you know, that's that. So Kansas City's moving on to their third Super Bowl in 5 years. So good luck to them. The NFC Championship game. Let's talk about it. Philadelphia, uh, 31, 49-7. And this was the most hyped of the two games. So I sort of thought that this game should have been the later game, and the Kansas City Cincinnati game should have been the earlier game because obviously this was going to be the best game, right? It wasn't meant to be, you know. As much as we wanted it to be a game, it never was, you know. And it started uh, with the injury to Brock Purdy. So let's get into it. Uh, so first drive of the game, first series for San Francisco. Uh, Hassan Reddick, is that the D lineman's name that sacked uh, Purdy, and we didn't know at the time, but we know now that he had a torn UCL in his arm, and so it was pretty significant. And so he had to leave, and you could see him on the sideline mouthing to Coach Shanahan, "I can't throw." You know what I'm saying? Like I can't feel my arm, so or hand or whatever he was mouthing. So that vaunted and that's just what they are. It was that vaunted Philadelphia defense. Uh, they touched him, and they said they all week they said they was gonna touch him. He hadn't felt that kind of pressure in all the weeks that he's been starting. And he's been starting since what, week 13? 5, 6, 7 games. Uh and he's been winning. But yeah, even and it felt like he could move he was moving the guys, a little bit. And if he hadn't got hurt, maybe it would have been a closer game, maybe not. But let's talk about the quarterbacks, man. So Brock Purdy was the third string quarterback going into the season. Uh, Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, they both go down. Brock Purdy goes down. The fourth quarterback comes into the game. The fourth quarterback, Josh Johnson. I think he's been in the league 15 years. I think he's a brother. He's black. Uh, but he was uh, a journeyman. Don't know how many. I guess I could go to his career stats, but I didn't pull him up. How many games he started in the league? But he's the fourth quarterback, so he clearly wasn't prepared as he needed to be or should have been for a game of this magnitude. Uh, then he gets hurt. So your third string quarterback gets hurt. Your fourth string quarterback gets hurt. So what do? Uh, your fourth string quarterback, if it was his knee or ankle, maybe you keep him out. But he just couldn't throw the ball. So you said, okay, let's see if we can run the ball against this vaunted defense, right? So we're gonna put the third string quarterback back in there and let him hand the ball off. Oh, they licking their lips. Uh, that entire defense, man, licking their lips. Philadelphia's defensive line has 10. No, sorry. Philadelphia's defensive line has 4 guys with over 10 sacks this year. That's sort of unheard of. 70 sacks on the year is second only to, I think, the 85 Chicago Bears, which was the team that I rooted for growing up. Not the 85 Bears, but the Bears in general. So 4 defensive linemen with over 10 sacks. That means that they get to the quarterback all kinds of ways. Outside, inside, they get there. And so San Francisco said, let's put our injured third string quarterback back in there and let him hand the ball off against these guys. And not only a regular front, but they're bringing 6 more guys up on the line, 3 guys off the line. They got 9 guys in the box. They know you can't throw. They know you're not gonna throw. Yeah, it was a disaster. That didn't last very long. All right. They took him out. So now they're gonna do some Christian McCaffrey. So Christian McCaffrey ended up being the 5th quarterback. If you consider Deebo Samuel, when he played Wildcat quarterback sometimes, like the 6th quarterback, but it's like a 5th or 6th quarterback this year that Kyle Shanahan has had to try and prepare and get ready to play the position at a high level and continue to win. Well, the winning stopped, right? McCaffrey tried to throw the ball a few times and he couldn't do it. Too much pressure. The nobody was open, all kinds of things. So they weren't going to score more than 7 points once Purdy went out of the game. And so but let's talk about Kyle Shanahan's greatness, in my opinion. In my opinion, So I'll just let you guys know. Kyle Shanahan, I'm a Houston Texans fan, which you guys should know. You see the H. This is a Astros hat, but that H stands for H-Town. Uh, and we had Kyle Shanahan on our staff uh when we had the other the coach. I can't think of coach name, yeah, but Kyle Shanahan was on the staff. Uh, and then when Bill O'Brien was hired, I guess Kyle Shanahan moved on to Washington, and he was the OC there for a while. Uh, I felt like we should have held on to Kyle Shanahan at all costs. Kubiak, he was on the staff under Gary Kubiak. That's what he was. That's who it was. And so uh, he moved on when Kubiak was fired, and then uh, to be honest, he may not have even been ready to be a head coach when Bill O'Brien was hired. But I felt like back then we should have interviewed him and possibly hired him to be our head coach. Still feel we should we it would have been a better choice to this day, you know. Uh, but and he's proven everywhere he's gone except that debacle in Washington. I don't know if anybody could have helped that situation because of the owner and just the culture there and all of that was horrible. But everybody saw his genius as an OC, and he went on as an OC to take Atlanta to a Super Bowl in which they lost, in which they gave up a 28-3 halftime lead to Tom Brady. And then he lost another Super Bowl as the head coach of the 49ers. And this is his uh, second NFC Championship game, losing as the head coach of the 49ers. So he's had some tough losses, but uh, I think he's great at what he does. Uh, and I just wanted to put that out there that I thought that he should have been the Texans head coach. I think the Texans now are going to hire his defensive coordinator, uh, which used to be a Texans linebacker, D'Amico Ryans, and I really hope that goes through because I believe that D'Amico will be a really, really, really good head coach. Not just a solid one, but a really, really, really good one, you know. And if you can start with really, really, really good, you can do a lot of things. Get the right coaches in place, get the right personnel in place. Uh, Hopefully he can work well with the general manager, and uh, we can get this thing moving in the right direction, right? Uh, but speaking of the 49ers, it looks like uh, Tom Brady may be interested in being the quarterback there. What do you guys think about that? He's from the Bay. He grew up a 49ers fan. The 49ers have injuries upon injuries. Looks like Purdy will need offseason surgery. Uh, Garoppolo and Lance have already had surgery. It's going to be an open competition next year. No telling who's going to be ready following their surgery. I can see Brady going to the 49ers. I can also see Derek Carr going to the 49ers. And guess what? I can see Kyle Shanahan being successful with either one. What do you guys think? Let's talk about the Eagles' defense. We talked about it a little bit with the four guys that uh, have over 10 sacks on the year. Hassan Reddick should get votes for Defensive Player of the Year. I believe he may lead that defense in sacks. Uh, uh, you know, I mean, so they have, let's look at their schedule, man, because the Eagles, let's see how they've done in the playoffs, man. Giants 38-7. San Francisco 31-7. Woo! Uh yeah, 14 points in two games. They've scored 69. Yeah, that defense is salty. Defense is very salty, and they're peaking at the right time. They lost two games when Jalen Hurts was hurt to Dallas and to New Orleans. Uh, then they beat the Giants back to back. They beat them in the last game of the regular season, and then the first playoff game in the divisional round. Woo! Yeah, uh, I think Patrick Mahomes hopefully his ankle gets better so we can see a good matchup between black quarterbacks. You know, so 16 years ago, Lovie Smith and Tony Dungy were the first two black head coaches to meet in the Super Bowl. Now this year, it'll be the first two black quarterbacks to meet in the Super Bowl, starting quarterbacks to meet in the Super Bowl. What do you guys think about that? I mean, I think it's something to be said because it's the first. Anytime there's a first, it needs to be celebrated. You know, it's rarely a first involving white people because that's just the way it works. But there are a lot of firsts regarding blacks, and I think they need to be acknowledged. They need to be celebrated. They need to be spoken. You know, and there have been black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. Doug Williams, uh, Donovan McNabb. You know, but there hasn't been two playing each other, right? And so, uh, to me, that's significant. Now let's talk about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is uh, from Houston. Uh, his dad coaches at Channelview High School. Coach Hurts. Uh, Jalen Hurts is a coach's son, and I always love a QB that's has a dad for a coach because they always have a certain demeanor that I really like. You got to be tough. You got to be mentally strong. You know, uh, you've got to have a certain desire for the result, right? Whether the result is a first down, a pass completion, a Hail Mary touchdown, uh, win the game. Quarterbacks that have fathers as coaches generally, at least coming up, sometimes when you get to the pros, they can it can go either way. But coming up, they always have you know those things that I look for, that it factor more than you know quarterbacks that don't have weren't coached by their dad or had dads as coaches, that type of thing, right? So I love that about him. His maturity, man. And the boy doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. He doesn't say the wrong thing, doesn't stick his foot in his mouth. He's not caught on video, uh, at the club the night before a game. He's not doing TikTok videos. He's ball. During the season, he's ball. You know, After the season, You still haven't seen any of that stuff, but I'm sure he partakes in it because he's a young man. But during the season, he's locked in, he's focused, and I'm sure that's what I love about him. That's what you want to see out of your quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, also from Texas, two Texas boys. Patrick Mahomes is from White House, which is a suburb of Tyler. Tyler has a suburb. I grew up in Marshall, Texas, so Tyler was like an hour away. Maybe White House was. We may have played White House uh, once or twice when I was growing up because we always played those little surrounding towns and stuff, beat them to a pulp. You know what I'm saying? But they wanted to play Big Bad Marshall. So Patrick Mahomes is from White House, which is Texas. He went to Texas Tech. Uh, so it's great, man. Two black quarterbacks from the state of Texas. And the whole state should be interested in this game, even though it has nothing to do with the Cowboys and nothing to do with the Texans. But the rooting interest can still be split. Like everybody's not rooting for Jalen because he's from Houston. Why? Because Patrick Mahomes is from Texas also. He's from East Texas. So a lot of the boys from East Texas may be rooting for Patrick Mahomes. You see? I mean, it's hopefully this is a great game. I think it will be, you know. Uh Philly defense is, and they're something to behold. I don't think they'll hold Kansas City to 7 though. Uh Kansas City, I think will the chip on Kansas City's shoulder that I believe they'll have is that this is their third Super Bowl, right? They won one, then lost one. That last taste in their mouth is a loss. This is their fifth NFC Championship game, and they only have one Super Bowl to show for it. That's a chip, man. That's a chip any way you look at it. So I'm rooting for both teams. I'm rooting for a great game. I'm rooting for Rihanna. I'm rooting for a great halftime show. You know, my girlfriend's from Trinidad, so she's a huge Rihanna fan. So am I, and I'm not from Trinidad. Love Riri. Uh, ASAP Rocky, you lucky dog, you. Uh, that's it, guys. That's the wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave comments in the comment section. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I have a lot of videos, man. I'm doing the Jackson versus Jackson videos. We'll do something big for the Super Bowl. I'm doing the talking shop videos, man. I love those. Just talking shop with ordinary people, with people that have stories, man. People that 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 you'd want to have a beer with. Uh, and I have the Market Watch podcast. So we're doing a lot of good things. So subscribe to the channel, man, and you'll be thoroughly impressed and you'll enjoy what's going on. I am Erik T. Jackson. You are watching Jackson versus Jackson. That's Jackson versus Jackson. And we out. Thank you, guys.